Hello, everybody. Please come in, pop in the comments and say hello. Thank you for joining me today for day 2 of 4 days of Science of Reading. Tell me, were you able to view live yesterday for day 1? We talked yesterday, we were talking about word study yesterday for kindergarten, first, second, and third grade students. If you didn't get a chance, were you able to watch the replay? I hope so. Yes, you view live. Hi, Therese. Hello again. I saw yesterday's and enjoyed it. Yes, 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 yes. I watched the replay. Good for you, Amy. I love it. I feel like if you don't watch it right away, it gets lost in your email, but yeah, you can watch it anytime. That's convenient. So if you missed yesterday, go back and watch the replay because I think it was really helpful for a lot of teachers. I got some really nice emails sharing with me how helpful. Hi, Jen from West Virginia. My husband is from West Virginia, and he would be so happy to know that you are here. Yes, yes, yes. Hello, Bakersfield, California, Bermuda, Charlotte. All right, everybody is logging in. I don't hear anyone saying they're having any trouble hearing me, so I'm assuming all of my tech is working correctly. We have Ethan from Canada, Calgary, Alberta, Glendora, California. So I'm in North Carolina near Raleigh, but I've lived here 10 years. So I think I'm a Carolinian, I guess. But formerly, I lived in the southern part of North Carolina, or southern part of California, near Los Angeles, Redondo Beach, California, if you know that area. And we moved here about 10 years ago when my daughter was 3 years old. And we just wanted a better community to raise her. And we are so pleased to live here in North Carolina. So if there's anyone from North Carolina, hello, friends. Arizona, it's probably so nice and warm because it's cold here right now, at least cold for me. I think actually it's going to get up to the 50s. So we're letting everybody log in. It is a minute after 1 o'clock, so we should get started. Because I am just so honored that you are spending your time during your winter break here with me for 4 days of Science of Reading, and I hope you'll join me every day that you are available. I am really enjoying this, and if we don't know each other yet, my name is Christina Winter, and my home is Mrs. Winter's Bliss. That's my website, where you can find a lot of blog articles and resources that I create. I do live trainings. I'm also part of Team Unlocking the Science of Reading, Unlocking SoR. So if you've ever been to any of our collaborative conferences, we'll have another in March, and we just absolutely enjoy that with some other educators. And then you can also find me in Leaders of Literacy. That is my membership. And I love working with my leaders. If you're a leader, say hello in the comments. I'm glad you're here too. And if you're watching on the replay, welcome, welcome. Drop some comments in here on the replay. So let's get started. Just like yesterday, if you join me, I am going to flip over to some slides that I prepared for today. And then after I'm done teaching, I'm going to flip back and answer any questions that you have. I am planning on just about an hour, but if you have more questions or you want to stay a little bit longer, I'm absolutely good with staying a little bit longer as well, because I want to give you what you need here, your tools that you need to help you be successful and empowered and ready when you go back in the new year to help your students. Again, I'm just so honored that you are here. You're dedicated to take the time off your break. I think that you should rest and relax and do all the things you love. But if you're like me, like you just want to do teaching things, it's my hobby. So anyway, I'm going to flip over my slides. My friend Laura is here. And if you have questions, please drop them in the chat as we're going, and she'll scoop up those questions, put them in a Google Doc. And at the end, I'll go through the questions and answer every question that I can for you. So let's get started. Let's see, I'll share my screen here. Okay, so you are here because we are going to talk today about orthographic mapping, the importance of orthographic mapping, and also teaching high frequency words or what we call sight words, the heart word method. And I also have prepared some because irregular words are what we would teach with the heart word method. That's why we call them heart words, because they have a part that doesn't follow the rules. But I've also prepared how we can teach regular words by focusing in on phoneme grapheme correspondences. So I'm hoping we have enough time to talk about both, because I think both are really important here for us. But let's just get started right away. So again, I'm Christina Winter. I did teach first grade for 21 years. A few years ago, I decided to take a leave so that I could be with my family. And so now really what I do is I teach, through the internet. I teach virtually and I work with teachers. I mentor teachers. I do in-service PDs with teachers and things like that. But I would love to connect with you. So if you want to snap a picture, tag me on Instagram at Mrs. Winters Bliss, or drop it in First Grade Bliss. I would love to connect with you if you want to share out something that you're learning through this. But yeah, I just love connecting with teachers. And so now my days are filled with like taking courses and webinars. I'm working through letters. I did Reading Teachers Top 10 Tools. I like read all the books and all of that because I was a mentor teacher and I just love working with teachers. I miss working with kids, but right now this is what I'm doing. So that's a little bit about me. But we're going to talk about orthographic mapping. We're going to learn why it's so important for our early readers. And we're going to talk about mapping routines for regular words and irregular words and what we are doing to promote orthographic mapping. And my goal here is that I'm going to share the research and the evidence with you, but also give you some strategies that you can take right back into your classroom. And if you joined me yesterday or you're following along on social media, reading in my emails, you know that I have a special resource available for you at a discount. I offer it because teachers need it. They ask for it. Everything I'm doing is like the feedback that I'm getting from teachers. Absolutely, I'd love to offer it to you, but absolutely you don't need to buy anything to be here. But just know it's just a service that I'm providing for you. Okay, so let's get started here. So if we look at these words here, first of all, let's talk about what are sight words. Because if you're like me, I used to get confused on what a sight word was. I used the word sight word to talk about high frequency words. Those tricky words that are hard for kids to read and to spell, the words like the, and, of, said, was, they, those words. But in actuality, sight words, if we look at the true definition, words that we can read automatically, accurately, and effortlessly. So all these words right here, if you're reading them by just looking at them, by not decoding them, those are sight words for you and for children. They're just called that because we recognize them by sight. But you might be wondering, how did they get there? How do our words, or how do words, how do children, store them for instant retrieval? How does that actually happen? Let's move this over here. So if we're just talking about those high frequency words, those what we call sight words, those dolch words, the fry words, the tricky words. I know, I think Foundations calls them red words. You know what I'm talking about. If we're just talking about those, up until recently, we thought that students needed to learn these high frequency words through rote memorization. We thought that students just need to memorize them. First of all, please know that anything that I'm talking about here, when I'm saying we were doing it wrong, please understand that I was doing it wrong all through my teaching, 21 years. I did this, okay? We are not here to shame anybody. If you have a word wall, we are not here to tell you you're doing it wrong. We are learning. And so you are here to become equipped with the knowledge so that you can know better and do better. I know, like, that's such like a coined thing to say, but it's so true. When we know better, we can do better, right? So please understand that I am here hopefully to give you knowledge, empower you so that you can change things. Because this picture right here, these are they were like cardstock or cardboard or what, a poster board. This was my actual word wall in my classroom. So this is how I used to teach sight words in my class. That little image right there is a sight word list I used to send home with my students. But like I was saying, we had this belief that if a student simply saw the word enough times, like just looked at it, that they would eventually learn it. And we sent home these word lists like this. We would put these words on our word wall. We would drill them. I would hold up flashcards to my kids. What does this word say? And flash it down. I mean, we would do flashlight reading, all these things. I mean, please get in the comments and tell me I'm not alone, that you also maybe have done these things. And this is how we taught. We were trained to know. I taught parents. I said to parents, they just have to know it by sight. You just have to just read it. No decoding. I mean, I literally said no decoding to them. But now this method does work for some students. It does, but not for all students, especially our struggling readers. So what we know now is that there's a better way to teach high frequency, or what we term sight words, right? And I was also kind of thinking, how did this come about? Why did we think that we needed to teach these words in a special way? So I started to do a little bit research. What I kind of found out was Dr. Dolch, you know, the Dolch 220, he was a big proponent of the look-say method of teaching beginning readers. So he believed that reading instruction should begin by teaching children to memorize words based on their shape. And he often used the words guess when talking about beginning readers. So I don't know if that is actually what propelled this idea that our kids just had to memorize these words, that they just visually had to look at them and to know them by sight. And the last few decades, reading experts and cognitive scientists wondered, is there a better way to help our struggling readers? And they looked more at the science of how we learn to read. And what they discovered is that we don't store and we don't retrieve words based on visual memory. We said that yesterday, right? We don't store words based visually. We don't read words by visual, right? In fact, scientists have shown that our visual memory isn't even capable of storing 30,000 to 90,000 images of words. And they concluded that something else is going on and we should change the way that we teach our students. So what does the science of reading, what does the research say about how we learn sight words, meaning all words, not just those irregular words, but all words, if we're going back to the idea of sight words, right? If you have this book or you have access to get this book, I really recommend it. I don't get paid for saying that, but teachers are always asking, what can I read? How can I learn? So this book is called Equipped for Reading Success by Dr. David Kilpatrick. And a lot of the information that I'm sharing today are coming from his work. This book, I would not suggest getting it on Amazon because I think they pretty much mark it up, but you can get it if you just Google Equipped for Reading Success. You can get it right on his website for, I think it's like $50. So it's not cheap. It's valuable. My book's all torn up because I reference it so much. But ask your school to buy it for you. That's where I would start. Ask your school to buy it for you. Write a Donors Choose grant if you can. Teachers shouldn't have to buy their tools, unfortunately. That is kind of the way it is. But in his book, he explains the mental process, which actually he's explaining it, or he's going off the work of Dr. Linnea Airy. Her name is spelled E-H-R-I, Dr. Linnea Airy. And you can look up, just Google Dr. Linnea Airy, orthographic mapping, and you're going to get some articles that you can read if you want to read her work. But he's, explaining coming from her work, he's explaining it a little deeper. But he's explaining how we permanently store words for immediate retrieval. How does that happen? Remember that first slide I showed you with cat, hello, alphabet? How is it that readers can look at those words and just know them in a second in our brain? And he says that the reason why that happens is because of a process called orthographic mapping. And it's how we take an unfamiliar word and we turn it into an immediately recognizable sight word. We know it by sight. And this is happening. This is a process that's happening in the background in our brains. So orthographic mapping is not something like, it's not like a strategy or a drill or a teaching technique that we do in our classroom. I hear that getting confused often. What you're doing is you're doing phoneme grapheme mapping, which is the when you're attaching the sound to the letter. Orthographic mapping is kind of what is happening in your brain. So just a little clarification, because I know when you're new to learning this, like when I was, it can get a little bit confusing. So we don't teach orthographic mapping. It's the process that happens, the mental process that is happening in our brain. It's like our filing cabinet so that we see those squiggly things on paper and we just pull them, readers just lift them off for accurate, effortless retrieval. So let's go back to the brain. If you were here yesterday, we're just going to do a quick refresh because I think it's so important for us to really understand what is happening in the brain and how readers access the information. How do they actually lift those words off the page? So we'll just do a quick refresh here again. The guru, the expert, Google, watch on YouTube. He's actually really interesting. He's a funny guy to listen to, but Stanislaw Dehaene, Reading in the Brain is his book, but he's a French cognitive neuroscientist. He's like the guy who knows about reading and what happens in the brain. He also shows in his videos, the fMRI, those are the brain scans that happen. And he shows how different parts of the brain light up when a person reads the words. And he also shows in there how a proficient reader, what their brain looks like, and then what a struggling reader's brain looks like and how they're not using their the right parts of their brain. So definitely if you have some time and you want to check that out, I would definitely check it out. But so the reading brain, what is happening? First of all, we have to understand that reading isn't like a natural process. Our brains weren't built or designed or hardwired to read, but really they were wired for speech and for language. And the good news is that our brains are malleable. We can rewire them. We've heard that before, rewire the brain. And we know that's true because if you think about, well, we know that's true from his work, but also think about people who've had a stroke and how they have to rewire or connect those neural pathways again. So our brain is an amazing organ that can be rewired. It's malleable and all that. So science tells us that's not just one part of the brain that we use when we're reading. We use different parts of the brain. and they work together, but we have to be able to train those parts of the brain so that we can read, that children can read. So in my little simplified version here, in the back of the brain, we have that part called the orthographic processor. And that's the part that recognizes pictures and letters and words. The baby recognizes mom's face using that part of the brain. But those squiggly little lines, those characters that we've assigned for letters, that's the part of the brain that is being used, the processor, the orthographic processor. And then in the front, on the left side of the brain, you've got that part of the brain that recognizes sounds. And that's the phonological processor. And that is where phonemic awareness is happening in the brain. So it's interpreting the sounds, the phonemic awareness in that part of the brain. So when we're born, we have those parts of the brain fully intact. They're developed, right? But then there's this part in the middle that where we are going to connect the sound and the letters and all of that. That's called the phonological assembly. And that is the part of the brain that is not intact. It allows us to connect the speech sound to the visual images. And those are the letters. So the sound and the symbol. We have to connect that. We have to build that neural pathway. We have to strengthen that part of the brain. We have to rewire it or hardwire it. And the only way, science says, the only way for most children is through explicit, systematic phonics instruction, and for our students to have practice decoding. So that is the best way to build those neural pathways. And then finally, we just have that part of the other part of the brain we have there is the context processor. And that's the part of the brain that helps bring in meaning. So, which is the whole goal, obviously, of reading. But it also helps our brain to understand when we are processing the words, building the meaning. And an example I gave yesterday is when you use the word match and you say that, well, depending on what you're actually reading, are you talking about pair of socks? Are you talking about the match that you light with, or a tennis match, or that? So it interprets and brings meaning, that part of our brain. So now we have this whole brain working together to read. And basically just thinking about our brains are hardwired for speech and language, and we build those neural pathways so that we can read. And Stanislaw Dehaene reminds us, I copied this quote that he says, the brain processes every single letter and does not look at the whole word shape. Teaching letter to sound correspondence is therefore essential. It is the fastest way to acquire reading and comprehension. So that is what tells us that whole language does not work. We can't surround kids with lots of books and read to them and just assume that they're going to naturally pick it up. We can't just flash words to them that they have to attend. He says, the brain, it's proven, they have to process every single letter and sound. So that is what we're here to talk about. Okay, so if we kind of think about our brain is first, and yesterday we talked about this, our brains are built for language and speech. Well, when we're reading, it's kind of the same way. That's the waterfall that happens. Yesterday, I showed you in that slide how we start with speech sounds and we move down to print, and then we move down to reading words and reading sentences. So we're kind of taking that, how do we access words that we hear? So thinking through starting with the speech. So in Equipped for Reading Success, he says, when we hear sounds, meaning is retrieved. And this is the oral filing system that happens when we're reading words. So we hear sounds, the sound sequence is matched to stored sounds in our brains, oral vocabulary is activated, and meaning is retrieved. So that's what's happening instantly inside of our brains with speech sounds. right? So he talks about this is similar, the similar situation is happening as we are reading. So when we're seeing or looking at letter strings, and he brings in this idea that what happens is in our brains that we have written words. So written words are just like however the alphabet, I have not researched this, but however the alphabet was determined, really they're just letter strings. They're just characters, squiggles, right? And we have attached, when we see this one, we know that's the letter M. And we have attached, when we see that M, that we make the sound or the phoneme for right? So written words are strings of letters that represent words. And in the book, Equipped for Reading Success, David Kilpatrick explains that these become meaningful letter strings because a sequence of letters in a meaningful order and familiar to us through our past experience, once they're familiar, they become unitized, like a unit. And skilled readers see a word and instantly connect meaning. So we don't have to focus on just parts of the word. So if we look at the word letter, those letters are unitized. It's like stamped. We see them and we know what that word is. It's become unitized because of our experience and because of they're in a specific order, right? And they connect meaning. When we see that, we think letter. And we know in our mind, you might be thinking of a picture of a letter, or you might be seeing an envelope, or you might be seeing probably an alphabet letter, right? But we're not focusing, like we're not conscious of this actually happening. And he gives us a wonderful example in his book. He talks to us about this analogy, and he talks about if you're from the United States, that these are probably meaningful letter strings to you, right? That if you're from Australia, though, these might not be meaningful letter strings to you because FBI is the Federal Bureau of Investigation, right? The IRS, nobody wants the IRS, but those are meaningful because those have become unitized. We know what they mean. We're not decoding those words at any point. We just see them and we know, and they pop into our head. So how do these letter sequences become meaningful for our students? Well, if a student has letter sound proficiency, that means that when they see that, they know, or when they see that letter C, they know the sound, right? If they have proficiency and phonemic awareness, they instantly recognize that phoneme grapheme connection. And without phonemic awareness, the letter strings aren't meaningful to them. And it's very difficult for our students to make familiar. And Dr. Lene Airy, she was really clear that skilled readers don't process words, again, as visual units. We know the evidence is so clear that we don't see CAT and process it like it's not like a visual thing that we're seeing and reading. It's like we've got to attach the phoneme and the grapheme so that we see those correspondences are clear. So another reason why we know that is our students can read words that are in uppercase and in lowercase and funny fonts. I mean, if we were visualizing words as a visual unit, then I think how much work it would take for them to read, or for us to read in cursive, in bold font, and in all the different fonts, right? And so in the book they talk about that, but it's only because they're in a very precise order, and we've anchored those phoneme grapheme correspondences, we've anchored those in our permanent memory by attaching those, working through those phoneme grapheme correspondences. So if we look here from David Kilpatrick, he says to us, letter sound skills are not optional for the efficient permanent storage of words. They are essential. So what we know from that is that rote memorization is not, it's actually a disservice for our students. If we're holding up flashcards and we're saying, memorize this word, know it in a flash, we're never giving our students an opportunity to connect the phoneme and the grapheme, to connect the letter sound relationship, to map those words, to activate that part of their brain and build those neural pathways. We're never having the opportunity to do that. So, okay. All right. So, what does David Kilpatrick say? Like, how can students become good mappers? How does this actually happen? Well, he teaches us that there are 3 skills that students have to have. First, so orthographic mapping, it's promoted when students have proficiency with letters and sounds. They are proficient and they have automatic access to sounds in spoken words, which is phonemic awareness. And they have this process of making connections between the phonemes of the spoken word and the written form of the word. And again, that's where we talk about phoneme grapheme mapping. But he believes that the word study is the super glue. It's what anchors words into our permanent memory. And this means that our students need explicit instruction on how to connect the sound to the written word. And we have to not only give the explicit instruction to our students, but we have to offer plenty of opportunities to practice encoding words, which is writing words, and decoding words, reading words. So we have to give explicit instruction and give plenty of opportunities for our students. So when we look at that flashcard of the word said, when we were trying to teach our kids to read and to spell these sight words, we were relying on memorization and we were leaving out the word study. It's like we thought that these were a special set of words and they need to be memorized and couldn't be learned using the sound symbol relationship, but we were really wrong. So to recap, science tells us that storing and retrieving words is not a visual process, and students have to use phonemic awareness or phoneme awareness and letter sound knowledge for permanent storage. And this is where our explicit instruction for teaching heart words comes in. So we're going to look at teaching heart words. But before we do that, I need to take a break, I need to breathe. So let's do a giveaway, right? If you joined me yesterday, you know that we are doing 2 giveaways. I'm going to do one immediately and one on Friday. So if you're here to collect your second secret SoR word, the word is literacy. You got the first word yesterday. And I am giving away a 1-year membership to my membership, Leaders of Literacy. It's a place for 1st and 2nd grade teachers who want literacy centers to be even better and meaningful. It's just a place I can offer more support with teachers and provide them with low prep signs of reading centers every single month. And it's a great place to be. But today's giveaway, I want to know, so somebody right now, we're going to give away some stickers and how about a Starbucks card to somebody right now. These little stickers say lead with confidence, because I think that you coming, you're showing you're a leader in your school and you are showing you're a leader in your classroom. And I want, my goal, my hope, my mission is to provide you tools and resources to help you lead with confidence. So my question today, pop in the comments if you want to be a winner, is have you taught heart words before? Is this new to you, or you've done it before? Or I guess those are the 2 options. You just getting started? New? Yes, 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 yes. New to me? Oh my goodness. Yes, yes. Okay, good. Yes, I use resources for heart words new to me. I'm getting started. Awesome. Okay, we're going to give 10 seconds. Let everybody. I hope that your students are having so much success. I'm just hearing from teachers how amazing the heart word method is working for their students. Yes, I've taught heart words and I put them on giant cutout heart after our word study. That's fantastic. Okay, we've got lots of people. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my eyes over here and I'm going to scroll up. And I just tapped on Deb. Let's see, she's right. Let's see if I can pull it up. Deb L. She says, this is new to me. First time teacher. Oh my goodness. Okay, Deb, she's a first time teacher. So Deb, here's what, Deb, I think, I'm changing my mind right now because this is new to you and a first time teacher. So I'm just going to give you the heart word bundle. So at the end, I'm going to have you email me hello@mrswintersbliss.com. Get the bundle. So let's pick one more person because I want to send these stickers to you in your mailbox. So let's just stop here. Laura M. I started a bit last year, but fairly new. So Laura, I'm going to ask you to email me also hello@mrswintersbliss.com. And I'm going to send you a little sticker and a gift card. So thank you for joining me. So much fun. But let's get back now to the heart word method. I think we're doing really good on time. So that makes me really happy because right now we're going to focus on teaching irregular words with the heart word routine. And then we can talk about word mapping, phoneme grapheme mapping for regular words. So hopefully that works for you and your schedule. So if you look at this is just like a little mock-up here, and it's just showing you 3 different kinds of high frequency words, because let's be really clear on what that means, because sometimes we lump them all together. First of all, a decodable word is a word that has no irregular parts. It's what we might call a flash word. In my heart word resource, I call them flash words. I got that idea from Linda Farrell and Michael Hunter from Readsters. They are their training or their information on their website is kind of what really got me thinking about this when I was researching. Their work was done in 2013. So I haven't seen anyone else talking about heart words earlier than that. So I'm kind of thinking that they're the ones who coined the idea of heart words. But maybe I can meet them someday and find out. They call them flash words when they're completely decodable. That means each letter, each phoneme grapheme correspondence is regular. When we see the in ask, we know it's decodable, right? There's no irregular parts, like words like ask, can, big, as. So it's decodable. But then we have this category of heart words we call temporary heart words. And they're called temporary because there's a part that students haven't had explicit instruction on. And here's an example. The word down, generally, we're going to teach that in our word study. In first grade, I taught that kind of closer to the end of the year, I don't know, April, May, where we really, studied that pattern, that generalization, and we really practiced that. But once our students know the OW, the letters OW represent the ow sound, we could take that part away. It's a completely decodable word. So we would call that a temporary heart word, because we know that these high frequency words, they make up so much of our written language that we want to give children access to those words. So that's kind of why we have this temporary situation. And then we have the group of words that are called permanent heart words. And these are the true heart words because those words have an irregular part, and they don't, it's not like you're going to teach your students a skill or study a specific phonics pattern and then they become regular, right? So the word from would be temporary because the O in from makes the sound. The word said is a permanent heart word. They is a permanent heart word. Do, of. Now we can also, I know many teachers who are really into this also go, yesterday I shared with you that a website called Edam Online, because you can go back and you can like kind of research how those words, like the origin of those words, and kind of do a better understanding. Like the word said is a derivative of say. So say is actually regular once you know the AI, but said is irregular because the AI in the middle, we can't have the I at the end of I'm sorry, the word said, it's changing from say to said. How about that? I don't want to get it wrong. Okay, so we know now there's different categories of high frequency words. So now we know exactly what heart words are. And the best recommendations from the experts is that we match up our high frequency word instruction with our phonics patterns that we teach. So I took 220 high frequency words and I matched them up with phonics skills. If you're using my scope and sequence, yesterday I shared with you my scope and sequences for phonics, but these are matched up completely in the same order. So I matched up the words here, and they say that, you know, again, we want to infuse them in our word study so that we're integrating like phonics instruction. And they're going to use their phoneme knowledge to map the regular parts of the words. Then they only have to learn by heart that irregular part. And that's where we get the term heart words. So for example, you see this, and you're going to get this in your downloads today, but you can see for the week of short E, look at all of those regular decodable words, but those are high frequency words. Get, let, read, 10. Yes, those are high frequency words. Those words we're going to infuse in our word study when we're teaching short E. But we can also, at that time, we can teach the heart word said, because the said has the sound in it, but it's spelled irregularly with the AI. So that's the recommendation from the experts, that we're going to align our words. Now, I know sometimes it's not possible. I know some school districts say, teach these 30 words in the first quarter, you know, or you have to teach this. So you can use this information and align it how you want, but this is the recommendation. And then secondly, you're also going to get this in your downloads today, but this is the routine, and I'm going to share with you the routine that, you know, I think Michael Hunter and Linda Farrell, and then I took kind of what they shared with us. And then also Dawn Durham, who's from the Reading League, she kind of had a routine. And so I kind of merged that together and kind of made this. And if you have my heart word teaching slides, this is exactly the routine that's used for every single word. But really what we're doing is we're just connecting the phoneme grapheme and then pointing out or analyzing, having our students really pay attention to the tricky part, the part that we have to learn by heart, the irregular part. So I'm going to flip through the slides so you can kind of see what that looks like as you're teaching it. And then I also have a video so you can see it in action. So I think that's going to be really cool. Okay, the first slide, first of all, the first 4 slides that I have are really just for the teacher, because to keep the teacher organized, I know that teachers are so busy. So I just wanted to provide, like, I literally want it to be like a no prep resource. So you can just like have it ready. But this, remember, we're coming from the language, from the speech. So you know, just like when we teach new sounds, we show the sound wall card. We talk about the sound before we show them the letters that represent that sound. So we're coming from like the speech. We're really wanting our kids to pay attention to the phoneme, to the sound. So the first 4 slides are here, and they're just really for the teacher to kind of keep them on track. I would just, if you're projecting these, I would just, you know, cover it with like a Post-it and then pull it off if you want to just keep on track, or just skip the first 4 slides and just do it just talk through it. But so here's the word said. And also I have like a freebie here for you also, of 5 words. So you can kind of, see through the slides, but there's 220 words in my resource. So the word is said. And so we'll say to our students, again, we're not showing them, like today's word is said. And the students, what's the word? And they say said. And then I use it in a sentence. Juliana said hi to Ada, and we're building meaning because we are using that word in a sentence. And then I say, what's the word? The students say said. So we say it again. And then I say, tap the sounds in the word. And then we do together. Again, we're not showing the word just yet, but we're doing d, right? And so we say, the word is said. Now we can show them the slide if you're using these slides, and we say, how many sounds do you hear in the word? Said, d. And so your students are going to say, Miss Winter, I hear 3 sounds. Yes, we do. We hear 3 sounds. Let's tap it one more time. D, right? We have a placeholder there for our students. What's the word? Said. So you say, what's the first sound you hear in the word said? And your students are going to say, S, and you say, okay, let's check and see. Yes, when we hear S, we write the letter S. And so we're like, pointing out, this is all regular so far. And then what's the word? Said. What's the last sound you hear in the word said? And so your students are saying, S, d, d. We hear d. Let's check and see. Nope. And we check, oh yes, we hear D, and we write the letter D. Okay, and then we go to the next part and we say, what's the word? And your students say, said. What is the second sound? What do we hear in the middle of the word? And we say, You say to your students, oops. Moved the wrong thing. You say to your students, yes, we hear and usually when we hear the sound, we write E, the short E, but this is the heart word. It's the tricky part of the word. And in this word, when we hear we write AI in the word said. And so this, this slide kind of recaps what we just said. The AI and said is the tricky part. That's the part we have to know by heart. And we can label the heart there so students can see. And so we say, what's the word? The word is said. Let's tap it again. Said. We ask our student, come on up. Who wants to come on up right here and drag the heart over the tricky part of the word? And so we put that, and the AI is the tricky part. So see how we're just we're just helping our students to just really pay attention to what is that tricky part of the word? What is the part that is irregular? Even use the word irregular with your students so they understand. And then we say, what's the word? Said. We have 3 sounds in the word said. So let's spell, oh, my computer wasn't on. And we could spell the word said with our students. And then we say, what's the word? Said. And then tap the sounds. D. And you can have your students at this time stand up and aerate the word. I think a really great thing, if you have your students sitting in front of you and they're on the carpet, and if your carpet's like tactile, they can use their finger and trace the word. They could get their whiteboards or write it on their hand, but just giving them an opportunity to also practice writing the word with you. And then I have included with my resource, I have where students can take their turn writing it on their paper and mapping the word also. So they have more practice activities. And that looks like, this is what it kind of looks like, where students are going to, they can map it by placing a token or placing a dot here and doing that. And then there's one where they could write the sentence if that's appropriate, or they can just, I think they could cut it out and build the word. That's the other option. But also what I like, again, is we're really paying attention to the phoneme because they have these little flip books. And so they're already made where they're just tapping here or lifting the little flap here. So then they're saying d, right? And so they have the word said here. They can label the irregular part. They can, on the inside, they could draw a picture or they can write a sentence using the word said. That they could build all of these little flip books so that they can do that. And then you could also use these cards and you can post them. I really think that we need to step away from the idea of creating like word walls, heart word walls, and things like that, because we don't want our students to become reliant on looking at the word on the word wall to spell it. We want them to become reliant on using their phoneme grapheme skills, mapping those words. And even if they make mistakes, it's okay if they don't get it right, but we draw attention, we remind them, we say, oh, there's the word said, you spelled it S-E-D. Remember that's a heart word. What is the tricky part of that word? But if we're just giving them the word on a wall to use always, I think that we're not forcing them to kind of use those phoneme skills, right? So I think what's working is like teachers using them, placing the word cards up on a wall, like on a temporary basis, maybe having a few on a pocket chart that you can work through for like a week or two. And then pull them down and put new ones up, just having the words available just for a short time, not just building this whole wall. So I said I wanted to show you. So I have a video showing this whole routine happening. I'm hoping that we are going to be able to hear.
We're going to learn a new heart word today. The word is what. What do you like to eat for dessert? Can you say a sentence using the word what?
What is your friend's name?
Great. What's the word?
What?
Okay. Let's see how many sounds are in the word what. Can you show me how many sounds? Say the sounds.
What?
Good. Let's try that again. One more time. What? Your turn.
You give corrective feedback.
How many sounds are there in the word what?
3.
What's the word?
What?
Great. Get your marker, draw a line on your whiteboard. For each sound, make the sound as you draw it. Point to it.
What?
Great. I'm going to help you. We're going to write the sounds. We're going to listen to the sounds and write the spelling for each sound that we hear in the word what. For the first sound, what do we write?
W-H.
Right. W-H is the first sound. What? Good. When we say the word what is at the end of the word in the word what? What do we write when we hear
T?
Right. Good. Say what again? What? Say the sound in the middle of the word what? When we hear what do we usually write?
U.
You're right, but this word what doesn't have U in it. When we hear U in the word what, we write A, right? A.
A.
That's the tricky part. That's the hard part. Can you label a heart on there? Good. What's the word?
What?
What? Good. Tap the sounds and read it.
What?
Good. Read the whole word.
What?
Now erase your word what. Write the whole word what.
What?
Good job.
Okay, I saw someone asking, and this has been asked before, about why did I do the first sound and the last sound? Same I did with the word said. So I was helping the student to build their understanding. Well, first of all, we know that our students can isolate skills. If you do phonemic awareness tasks, you know that it's easiest for students to isolate the beginning sound and the ending sound. The medial sound is the most difficult, like, I don't want to say level, but the most difficult for students to isolate. So starting at the beginning, we didn't have an irregular part. The ending didn't have an irregular part. So we kind of wanted to knock that out, like, and those are the easiest parts to identify, the middle part. So if you're doing that, that's why I did the beginning and the ending. But if you were doing, I mean, if you did a 2 phoneme word, then you would, so each word might be a little bit different. But that's how I would definitely teach it. I'm trying to think of another word. Like the word saw is a temporary heart word. This word, you know, lots of kindergartners have to learn it, but they don't learn the phoneme ah yet. So I would definitely start with the sound and then come to the tricky part. So that's the answer to that question. I know people have asked me that before. So, okay, so that's the heart word method, the heart word routine. Again, I'm going to give you that scope and sequence and like a sample of my teaching slides and the routine like sheet that you can just like print out and you can use. But I absolutely have the resource already done. If you want it, you can get it for 50% off. But I did want to take time. I know it's 1:55 right now, but I did want to take time because I wanted to talk about those are if we're talking about irregular words. But if we're talking about word mapping, which now we know, like I never did word mapping when I was a teacher. Because I didn't know all the evidence or all the research, but I think like it's really important for us to talk about mapping regular words, words that have the regular correspondences. So I wanted to kind of show you some of like the rules or how you're going to map words. This is a great resource if you have an opportunity. Phonics and Spelling through Phoneme Grapheme Mapping by Catherine Grace. Again, Google it. Don't buy it on Amazon because it's like super. I think these people like just buy stuff and then mark it up way high and resell it or something like that. But it's a great resource. But what she does is she shows you all different phonetic skills and how you would map those. And really, like, there's different ways to map words, like especially like silent E. Some people put it in the box, some people put it out of the box. I mean, it's like you're not going to hurt your kids doing it either way. You just have to pick a way and stay consistent with it. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. But the routine, when you are doing phoneme grapheme mapping, again, we're accessing the sound or the speech coming from the language point of view. So we're going to want our students to hear the word. We want to give them a picture so we can activate meaning, and then we can build off that meaning. And so then our students, this is from this is like my digital word mapping activity, but I just thought it was really helpful for you to see it. So we're saying the word, and they would click this little button and it says the word beach. And then they hear the word, they've got that picture. Then we're going to tap the word B-E. So they know there's 3 sounds. Map the word. And so they have to say it. They're not just like pulling counters down. If you're doing this with them in small group, or even if you're doing it in like a whole group setting, you want them saying the sound as they move the counter. So they're saying B and then E, ch, right? And then you're saying how many sounds in the word beach? So there's 3 sounds. Now graph the word. That's pulling the grapheme, right? So they're doing B, and then they're doing the next one. So this is a vowel team, E, and then sh, right? So they're getting an opportunity to segment and blend those words. And then these slides, they have this little self-check so students can check them also. But these are some activities that are in my word mapping unit, but basically I have these picture cards. So like if you're doing them in small group, or even after you've done a lot of like teaching with your kids, you can put these picture cards into like a center tub and your kids could do them on their own, right? So, but they have this whole routine, the whole routine. You're going to show them the word, look at the picture, rain, say the word rain, tap the sounds, put a marker, put a chip, put a dot, however you want to do it, they have to say it, and then write the letters that represent the sounds in the word rain. This one is similar, but you could use a popper. And this one right here is like some worksheets where students could do it more like an independent activity. And then there's like this little ring of little cards so they can self-check and make sure that they have it. But it's just using it in centers is a way for you to build in that cumulative review that your students need. And all of these activities are by like skill. So if you teach the AI spelling, then you can drop it in a center like a week later or something like that. So students could have that practice, or those little worksheets. If you do homework, they could take them and do them at home. Or like if you have a parent who runs a center, they could do it with them there, things like that. But those are all part of my word mapping bundle. But I want to go through and show you when you are mapping words, I don't want to say rule, but just because I'm here to build your teacher knowledge, right? How do you know? Because so often I get like questions like, how many sounds are in this word? Or how do I map this word? Right? So there's kind of some rules, or the rule is that we have one phoneme, one sound per box. Now it could be like the word light, right? That word is a 5-letter word, but it's only 3 sounds. So each phoneme goes in one box. So obviously our word men, it's a CVC word. So it's, just 3 letters. The next word, slam. This is where some people get confused. I think some programs maybe teach blends as welded sounds. The research is saying, or the experts say, that we shouldn't teach them together, but that blends are their own distinct sound. And so we should have our students pull apart right? So it's 4 phonemes in a blend. But a digraph is 3 sounds, because S and H together makes one sound. So we would put that as one phoneme. And then if we look at the word chick, chick is a 5-letter word, but the CK is a digraph that represents one sound after short vowel, right? I hope this is helpful for you. I think it's helpful when I, started to write it all out, because if this is new for you, then, it's helpful to see examples, I guess. Again, I was talking about silent E. So what's the word? Rake. So our students know rake. There's 3 sounds in the word rake, but it's a 4-letter word. So what do we do with that silent E? So some people put it next to the last consonant sound. Some people put it outside the box. Some people cross it off. Some people put an arrow. Absolutely up to you. There's like no phoneme grapheme police who are coming after you saying you're doing that wrong. Really just be consistent. And if you can be consistent across grade levels, I think that's even better, because the whole idea is that we're just getting our kids to connect the sound to the symbol so that they're proficient, so that they're able to read, because they're learning decoding and all of that. So there's no right way, however you want to do that. Then we have that word snail. Snail has the vowel team, AI, making one sound. And we have the word couch. We have the diphthong ow, and we have the ch sound, right? And what would you do if you were doing this with your students and they wrote couch, COWCH? So that's an opportunity, if you're doing it with them, to remind them the generalization, what we talked about yesterday. Well, the ow sound is we usually see it's spelled O-W at the end of the word. Let's see, what should we change, right? You're not telling your students, you're having them help figure it out so they can like embed that in their brains. Okay, next word we have is the word house. So I think there's 7 jobs of silent E. And yesterday we talked about Denise Ide. She has all the rules in her rule book, Logic of English. But the SE, the job of silent E, shows that the word house isn't a plural right there. So that's why we have a silent E at the end of the word house. And so we're going to map it 3 sounds. And then this is a tricky one. I didn't know this until I really started thinking about it and I worked on making my sound wall. 6. So the X sound is actually 2 sounds. The X is 2 sounds. So we have to represent that in our mapping. So we're taking up 2 boxes there because the K and the S is the sound for X. And then we have queen. So queen, the Q is the K sound and the U is the W sound. So it's qu. So it's 2 phonemes on the QU, double E, and then N. And then a couple more here. We have table. So the LE, the final consonant syllable LE. So the LE is together. And we have a double consonant, and N takes up 1 phoneme, 1 square. And we have NG, that's 1 phoneme, the N sound like in ring or strong. Again, we have each blend, each of the 3-letter blends in their own box. And then finally, we have parked. So we have the AR, that's the R controlled. And then the ED in this word is the T sound, parked. So we have it in 1 phoneme square. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So all of that. Oh my gosh, that's a lot, right? Again, the source skills for today, if you need resources that are like 0 prep, you just have everything you need for the whole year. The Heartwords bundle and the word mapping bundle just for today only, until midnight tonight, is 50% off, which is an amazing deal. None of the big sales like on any website or anything like that are ever that much, but you get all of those printable word cards and the printable worksheets and all that for word mapping and the digital slides and everything. But it's literally, I want to take, teachers are so busy. You have so much on your plate and so much information that I want you to come to this training and get all of this information. But I also know that if you don't have resources and you have to go and make all of these things, like that is a barrier for you to be able to do it. So I'm offering this up to you. If you choose to purchase it, that is great, because that means that I get to take more courses and read more books and host more webinars, because I have to pay money to do this through Zoom. So, and if you don't want to, please know that I'm just so grateful that you are here with me also. But you'll get all of those resources I talked about with the Heartwords, the digital teaching slides for 220 words, and those are all editable. So if you're teaching them in a different order, if they're temporary Heartwords or permanent Heartwords, you can like take the hearts away, you can fix it up, but you'll get that foldable and the printables and the bulletin board, these word cards, so that you can use them on your bulletin board and all that. So while we are doing that, we're going to get over to the questions now. But again, just reminding you, don't forget to write down your secret word literacy, and I hope that you'll join me. Let's do a fun question. Let's see. I have a fun question. Okay, so a lot of us are celebrating holidays and we're off on winter break. And now it feels like there's like two camps of people. Like December 26th, if you celebrate Christmas, is the day you undecorate your house, or maybe keep it up until the new year, or maybe you just keep your house decorated a really long time. But when is the right time to undecorate after the holidays? Tell me that. That's our giveaway question. We're going to give away a bundle that I just showed you. Let's see what everybody has to say. Oh my goodness. No. Okay, we are going. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay, 10 more seconds and we will do it. And don't forget, leaders of literacy, someone is going to win. So make sure to write that word down. So tomorrow when you come back, you'll know it. Because on Friday, someone is going to win a year-long to the membership and join hundreds of leaders in Leaders of Literacy. And they're going to you just log in to Leaders of Literacy and you have everything that you need to make your centers meaningful and no prep, no stress for you. Okay, I'm going to scroll. Okay, how about we do it like this so you guys can see? Okay, I'm going to scroll. Are you ready? All right, and stop right there. Christine, keep up as long as you need the inspiration. Okay, Christine, you are the winner of a bundle. So you're going to tell me, do you want the heart words bundle or do you want the word mapping bundle? Email me hello@mrswintersbliss.com and we'll get that bundle right over to you. I'm about to lose my voice. Okay, so again, connect with me. Please come back tomorrow, day 3. We're going to talk about choosing and using high quality decodable text. I know you're probably hearing a lot about using decodable text, and you're probably like me where you use level text for years and years and years, and you're not quite sure maybe how do you use decodable text? How do you pick out decodable text? So I hope that you're going to join me tomorrow because we're going to talk about the benefits of using decodable text. How do you choose ones that are high quality? And we're going to talk about lesson routines that you can use. Like, what are you going to do before reading it? What are you going to do after it? And what are you going to do during it? So come join me tomorrow. Plus, you're going to get your 3rd word tomorrow. So I don't know. I'm having so much fun. Okay, let's get to the questions and see what you have to say. Let me exit out all of these. Okay, let's see. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Okay, Jen says, if word walls are not in line with the science of reading, are sound walls the replacement? I know my admin parents want to see words on the wall. Okay, so I have lots of things to say. Okay, first of all, I think that people are kind of in the idea that I tore down my word wall and now I put up my sound wall. They're very different. A sound wall is a tool that when you're teaching phonics and phonemic awareness, like you're referencing, it's like the place, the anchor for our students. Some people are putting up words under like the phonemes. I just think like if we know from the research, if we can look at the brain imaging, if we can know that we really want our kids to pay attention to the phonemes, which is what all the sound wall experts would say, that's the whole goal, right? Why are we putting words up there? Like, it doesn't kind of align. It doesn't. So I guess my question, to answer your question, Jen, I think what we want to say is I don't know that it's a replacement. We know that word walls aren't effective and there's a better way for kids to learn words. And the better way is for kids to build the neural pathways in their brain by explicit systematic phonics and phonemic awareness instruction. And secondly, giving them a tool, because we know that they don't just learn it one time. We know that kids need multiple repetitions, some more repetitions than others. So we want to give them a tool so that as they're learning, the sound wall is their tool to refer to. If they're trying to spell the word with, And they're like, "Ooh, eh." And they're thinking, what is my mouth doing? What's my teeth doing? And they're like, oh, well, my teacher taught me that. I can go look on the sound wall, or I can look, oh yes, my mouth is doing that. We as teachers can refer to that. Now, that's a big conversation that you would need to have with your administrator. So if they're wanting it, I guess they probably aren't equipped with the knowledge at this point. So when you're comfortable opening that conversation, I guess, but also sometimes we have to do what we're told to do and then close the door, and maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody in the chat can kind of give Jen more answers, because I don't want to tell you to go against your administrators, but it sounds like they don't have the knowledge. But this is also a time for you to be a leader and to kind of, when you have the knowledge, to share with them and talk to them about that. I've been telling everybody I know to listen to Sold a Story, Emily Hanford's podcast series. I think all administrators should listen to that. Okay. I hope that's helpful. Stephanie, of all the books you've recommended so far, which book would you recommend reading first? Speech to Print, Uncovering the Logic of English, Reading in the Brain, or Equipped for Reading Success? Okay, Speech to Print is hard and Reading in the Brain is hard. So I'm going to say, if you're just starting out, I think my two recommendations, can I say two? I think this was really good. This is the first SoR book that I really started diving into. But I also think Logic of English, which is the book I showed yesterday, this one, Uncovering the Logic of English. This isn't a hard read, but it's also a reference. So if you're like, oh, what are all the jobs of silent E? You can just open right to that chapter, right? So I think these two would be my top. If you're really new to the science of reading, listen to that podcast, Sold a Story. Also, I'm going to talk about this book tomorrow, but Wiley Blevins, A Fresh Look at Phonics. This is like really one of my very favorite books because he talks about the importance of teaching phonics and how to do it. And he gives a lot of strategies. So Wiley Blevins, A Fresh Look at Phonics, really good. I think I should get paid from these guys. This book, Shifting the Balance, is really good for a beginner. I read it and I felt like I didn't learn a whole lot. Like, it's not super meaty, but it kind of gives you like an overview, like how we have to shift the way that we teach high frequency words, how we have to shift or commit to teaching phonemic awareness. So I know a lot of people like it, but I just didn't feel like it was super meaty. But if you're brand new and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? I'm new to science of reading. This might be a good place to start as well. Another good place, I listen to so many podcasts. And Anna Geiger, I call her my friend because we chat through text messages, but I've never met her, but she's like an educator in the online world. She has a podcast called Triple R Teaching, and she's a former balanced literacy teacher, and now she's all about science of reading. But she has really short, actionable, digestible. She's a former teacher and she's talking about science of reading. And I just think her podcast is really good. There's so many good ones. So I hope that's helpful. Stephanie, Doreen, would you do this whole group? How many words a day? Doreen, I think you're talking about the high frequency, the sight word, when I showed you the word said or the word what. I would absolutely do that routine with the slides, whole group. Then I would follow up in small group with your kids. So you could just, pull out whiteboards, or you could pull out those like little printable worksheets and you could have them do it. And then, right away, you can really assess with your kids who has it and who needs more support and more repetition, more practice. But I would absolutely do with your whole class because you're using your instructional minutes in a really helpful, meaningful way. They're all getting that explicit instruction. Remember, when we're teaching, the science of reading tells us, and structured literacy, we're going to talk about that also on Friday, but they really recommend that we're using explicit teaching. And what that means is like the I do, Dr. Anita Archer, the I do, the we do, the you do. So the I do, those slides are kind of the I do, because you're really teaching. Kids aren't discovering, you're doing it kind of with them, but you're showing them, you're leading them. They're not discovering anything. And then they're kind of towards the end, they're doing it with you because they're, they're tapping the sounds and they're helping to identify the sounds, in the word said, the S, and all of that. But I would absolutely do those slides whole group. Plus then they follow your phonics scope and sequence, and you're teaching them all at one, but then you're following up in small group. Heather, is this similar to the method taught by the authors in the 6 shifts? I was thinking about purchasing that resource, but so I think they have a course, but I don't know anything about it. I've only seen it like in Facebook groups, so I don't know if I could answer that question. I think that's maybe what you're talking about, but I guess no, honestly, I don't know the answer. But mine is all aligned with the research. And again, what I told you about Linda Farrell, you could Google on Readsters, just type in Readsters, high frequency words, or teaching the heart word method. And you could read their article. They don't have resources or anything that they sell, but it's all aligned to their work, which was published in 2013. And then I also did some training with Dawn Durham from the Reading League, and that's how I put it all together. Okay, Robin says, do you know how much time is needed to introduce 10 heart words each week? I love this routine and find it extremely valuable, but with a 90-minute block the day, I need to shift some things. So I don't know that I would do 10 words a week, Robin. I don't know that I would. I mean, is that what your school district is telling you to do, is do 10 words a week? I would think about aligning it again with your phonics scope and sequence. I mean, think about that. Doesn't that make so much sense to a 6-year-old when you're saying, friends, we're learning short E this week. And then you're like, oh, well, this word also has short E. And earlier we said the word 10 and the word jet are spelled with the letter E when we hear the S sound. But this is tricky. In the word said, it's not spelled with an E, it's spelled with AI. And that's why it's called a heart word, right? So I don't know why you have to do 10 words. If that's a recommend or a requirement by your school, again, can you talk to your literacy coach? Can you talk to your administration and talk about what the research says on what's going to be best for kids? But if you have to do 10 words, I mean, what is that, 2 words a day? So that whole routine, once you've done it a few times, you'll get much quicker with your kids. I think you might be able to get it done in like 10 minutes to get through 2 words. But that's a lot cognitively for your kids to also do. So Marcella, what program do we need to interact with the teaching slides? So Marcella, I think you're asking what program? Oh, what program? The teaching slides are all on Google Slides. So you just have to have a Google account, I guess, like a Google Drive. And then when you open up the teaching slides, they're all in alphabetical order. So you click the word, like if you click on S, like the S file, there's 4 files because they're 220 words. So I want to make it easy. So it's like A through, I don't know, D or something like that. And so if you're doing the word about, you would go to the A file and find the word, click on it, and it takes you right to the slide. So they're Google Slides. Everything is on Google Slides. Brenda says, are there any tips for teaching when to use WH versus W? In California, there's no difference between the 2 sounds. It's like, I've read so many articles about this, and that sound is becoming, I don't know if eliminated is the right word, but it's disappearing from our English language. So, Brenda, email me because I do have information, but I can't recall on it. So if you want to email me, I can share more information about that. Because I have looked that up, but I can't recall it right on the top of my head. But I do know that the sound is like evaporating or like becoming non-existent in our language. Maybe somebody else in here knows and can like tap that, but there's just not really a way. I think that there's something to do with WH words are a certain kind of word, and now I can't remember. WH is usually found in question words. Yep, Mrs. Gill says, but I think there's more to that. Kimberly says, I know you said don't do flashcards. However, once kids have mapped a high frequency word many times, can you use flashcards to determine if they've moved up to their sight word? Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I should have said that a little clearer. Kimberly and everybody else. I'm not saying don't do flashcards. Like, you can absolutely use like the cards, but we're just saying we don't want to tell our kids like, I'm going to flash this word to you and you have to know what it says. No decoding the word. I'm just going to flash it, read it. No, we can absolutely have the words on cards and we can have them read them for like fluency to make sure that they know the words and like automaticity. Absolutely. Was there a second part? I believe, if I'm correct in saying, all the word mapping that we are doing is working towards moving these words to sight words. Yes, all of this word mapping is absolutely what we're doing. This is what we're doing to orthographically map words. We want to store them in our filing cabinet for that automatic, effortless, accurate retrieval. So good question there, Kimberly. Tabitha says, do you know of courses we could take preferably online? Tabitha, I think a really great course. I mean, obviously letters is amazing. It's like a lot of work though, if you're teaching full time, but if your school will pay for it, it is amazing course. But if you don't have the ability, because you can only, last I heard, you can only sign up for letters if you are in classroom teacher. If you don't, or your school won't pay for it, because it is also super expensive. But if you don't, another really great course that I took is called the Top 10 Teacher Reading Tools. If you go to the Tools for Reading website, you'll see the reading teachers top 10 tools, reading teachers top 10 tools. Maybe Laura will pop it in the comments so you have it right. But it is 30 hours. It's 10 modules. And Dr. Deborah Glazer, I just loved her. She was such a great teacher. It's all online. It's all videos. So you watch it. And she explains the science and the information, but then she also shows modules, parts of like teachers doing, like she's usually the teacher modeling lessons, showing that. And she talks about all the parts of the reading rope. So she starts with like language and she talks about phonics, phonemic awareness, and she kind of keeps moving through the Scarborough's reading rope. And she talks also about like comprehension and all of that as well. So really good course. I know, again, Anna Geiger, I said I haven't taken her course, so I don't know anything about it, but I completely trust her. She does have a reading course as well. Her website is The Measured Mom, Anna Geiger. So you can check out her reading course also if you're interested. Okay, Michelle, I'm really frustrated because I've taken courses through our local area education agency, but I struggle with sharing my philosophy with my administrator. This is so frustrating because I'm the only one that's trying to make a shift to SoR. Do you have any other recommendations to share with my first, second grade teacher and principal? I completely feel that, Michelle, and I know so many other teachers are in your shoes. Maybe some teachers can pop in the comments and share anything that's helping. But I think if you know and you're following the science, that you're going to keep moving forward and doing what you're doing. And I think you can like sprinkle it a little bit. And when other teachers see some things and you're, talking about your results, I think they might start to wonder and question. I think that it's tricky because you have to be able to like infuse it in conversations, but not in a non-threatening way, because some teachers just aren't there yet. That doesn't mean that they're not gonna be there, but they're just not there yet. I mean, if you think about it, some of these teachers have spent a lot of money going to college, getting advanced degrees, buying Jan Richardson's book, like going to reading recovery training, all these things. Like they're so invested. And then now somebody's saying this is new. And then they're like, this is a pendulum swing. What are we going to do in 2 years? Like we've all been to those trainings and like our admin is like, this is it. And then like next year, we're not doing that anymore. So I'm encouraging you to be the light, keep headstrong, connect with me, connect with other teachers in this community, join Facebook groups, join First Grade Bliss, my Facebook group, seek out other people. I'm hoping this summer to have like a book study, like seek out, because it's lonely, right? And just see if there's ways that you can kind of drip it into conversations. And then when they're ready, I hope that they might come to you as a leader, right? Michelle, will you please email me hello@mrswintersbliss.com, because I want to send you some stickers so that you can have that visual reminder that you're a leader and you're going to lead your school. And they might not be ready yet, but you might be the thing that helps them move in that direction, right? So email me. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming. We are an hour and a half in. If you're watching the replay, thank you for sticking in here this long. Again, I'm so honored that you are here. I'm always in awe of teachers, and it's just great to be here and talk with you. And I just cannot wait for tomorrow because decodable texts are amazing. And I can't wait to share with you everything that I've learned from all the leaders. Wiley Blevins, especially, he's like, I wish I could meet Wiley. But anyway, grab your downloads, enjoy them. And again, those resources, if you're thinking about buying them, buy them now, because otherwise your kids are gonna distract you, and then you're going to be sad that you didn't grab them. So again, thank you so much for coming. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. And I'm going to sign off now.